Today we bring you our third and final special episode of Quality Digest Live from IMTS, this time broadcast from the Mar Federal booth here, high above the floor at McCormick Place.
That's right, and we'll be looking at some great innovations presented during the week, as well as a pair of technical product demos from our host, and that and more when we come back. This episode of Quality Digest Live is sponsored by Mar. Mar has over 150 years of experience in manufacturing a wide variety of dimensional metrology equipment.
Welcome back to Quality Digest Live for September 15th, 2016. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Mike Richmond, publisher of Quality Digest.
And I'm Quality Digest editor-in-chief, Dirk Ducharme. You know, the last time we were at IMTS, that was, 2014?
2 years ago,
Years ago.
That's right.
That's right. They 3D printed an entire car here, an entire vehicle 3D printed. And it was called the Strati, and that was from a company called Local Motors.
Sure.
The CoCreation micro factory company, if you're not familiar with it. The company's name is actually Local Motors, that's the name of the company. This year, Local Motors had another vehicle at IMTS, the Olli. That's O-L-L-I. Olli is a driverless vehicle, and it's not really a car or a bus. Think of it more as a small shuttle. It holds like 12 people, which is kind of its purpose. Local Motors sees it as an on-demand, first mile, last mile vehicle. In other words, you get off the train, for instance, or the L, we're here in Chicago, and take an Olli to work, or maybe the other way around. You get off work, you hop in the Olli, and you take that to the subway. So, I mean, it's not a very fast-moving car. Think of it maybe as a replacement for walking or riding your bike. It only has a top speed of like maybe 12 miles an hour. So it's kind of fits a special niche. Now, the thing that is unique about Olli, and even the Strati for that matter, is not so much the vehicle themselves, which are, okay, if you've seen them, they are unique, or even how they are made, 3D printed in the case of the Strati. The unique thing about the Local Motors products is the approach to development and manufacturing. That's really what I want to talk about a little bit. Now, obviously here at IMTS, as we've said, the focus is basically manufacturing. And the state of U.S. manufacturing is visible big time here.
Very much so, yeah.
But if you walk around, what's it feel like? It feels like big manufacturing, large manufacturing, big equipment.
Economies of scale.
Economies of scale. I mean, it's everything. You look here and you go, wow, this is manufacturing in the traditional sense that you think of manufacturing. Co-creation and microfactories like Local Motors are a completely different way of approaching manufacturing. So think about it, we're all familiar with this. In a typical manufacturing process, a group of developers at the company come up with a product, and then maybe they prototype it and they test it, and then they build it in large manufacturing facilities in a few central locations around the world, perhaps. Then those products are put on ships or maybe planes and trucks, and they're transported around the globe to the markets they will then be sold into. So sometimes there's a huge distance between where a product is manufactured and where it's actually going to be sold.
Yes, exactly.
And that's an interesting thing, because think of all the waste that goes into transport, right? Local Motors approach and the microfactory co-creation approach is completely different. The development process is what's called co-creation. That's the co-creation side of it. So the way that works is a problem. We need a vehicle that will, take the place of bike or walking, slow-moving vehicle. How do we, for use in cities, how do we do that? So maybe that's the problem. That's presented to the co-creation community. That community could be interested customers or consumers. It could be city planners. It could be small production facilities, engineers, whatever. But these are not necessarily employees or even a part of Local Motors. These are people literally in the community.
Right.
It's a collaborative ideation process. So then these ideas for solving the problem are voted on by the community. Will this idea work? and the process to turn those ideas into products are then the products are built in local, factories.
Yeah.
But these may not be traditional factories. These could be very small storefront factories, probably special built to make just those things, which is kind of what Local Motors is doing. They're building just these special vehicles. Or a microfactory conceivably could be part of an existing factory or shop, just something that shop, hey, we've got the capability here to make these things, sure, we'll start making these things here. But the idea is that these production facilities, these microfactories, would be spread around. They would be local to the market. So you could drastically cut down on transport costs. The key to a lot of this, and at least with what Local Motors has done, is, let's say, 3D printing. And you can see how this would fit in very nicely, because essentially you have one machine, a 3D printer, that could produce a variety of parts from a digital model. And by the way, the whole digital aspect of the CoCreation microfactory thing is very strong, because very often the design bits are communicated digitally, which fits in very nicely to, well, not just 3D printing, but automated production, that sort of thing. So let's get back to the Ollie a little bit. According to author Frank Gruber, writing in the online magazine Tech.co, Ollie was the co-creation of Local Motors and their co-creation community that led vehicle designer Edgar Sarmiento to develop Ollie. Ollie can carry up to 12 people. It's a cute little boxy little thing.
It's right here, actually.
And that's right. It was running around here at IMTS. And it's equipped with some of the world's most advanced vehicle technology, including, if you haven't heard of this, the IBM Watson Internet of Things for Automotive. IBM Watson is almost an AI type of